Now, I'm very excited to welcome back an exceptional handicapper and great friend of the show. You've heard him on many sports radio broadcasts and podcasts across the land. You can find his work at Vegas Insider and Major Wager. Really happy to bring back Mr. Brian Edwards from Major Wager and Vegas Insider. You can follow him at Twitter or X, what we like to call it these days, at Vegas B. Edwards. Brian, my man, we are knee deep now in college basketball. You know, it's funny. It's like after NFL left, like a while ago, it'd be like early February. Hell, I remember back in the day when the Super Bowls were in January, but now it's like March Madness is around the corner. A couple weeks left, dude. What's happening?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I wish they would push the college basketball schedule, back because I've been into it for a while, but a lot of times, people don't really start getting into it until, football's over and then you're just getting a good read on teams and it's March Madness and it's over.
It's done.
I know. Like 2 months of the season, we're dealing with football simultaneously. Like push it back like 6 weeks.
I know. You know what? It wouldn't hurt to do that. I mean, fuck their finals, right?
Right?
Well, it don't even happen till May. You know, it's like they could push it back a couple weeks, in my opinion.
Sure.
Extend the season. Maybe this conference realignment would extend the season, but they'll be like, oh, there's student athlete, the BS that we always hear. Like they're really interested in that shit. But that's life in sports betting now. The NFL keeps taking and taking and taking, and it filters into other sports. I mean, if you want to cry about it, the NBA's got a more of a bag to pick with the NFL, probably with all them stealing Christmas. The freaking Grinch that stole Christmas is the NFL, right? To the NBA and a few other things. Definitely a lot of other sports. But hey, I've been betting college basketball throughout the whole time. And
sure,
I'm excited to talk to you about it, man, because you're a great SEC guy. And I got to tell you, once again, the SEC looking promising as hell. Auburn just put a pimp slap, is what you like to say, on South Carolina. I actually lost that game. I hit the under in the Iowa game last night, but lost that one. But man, there's just so much yet to play and so much to play out. But what I always like to do, Brian, is talk about some value. Sometimes we can find some value in the marketplace. A lot of people go by the Ken Palms, and the market kind of gets set by them a little bit, in my opinion. I think they bring in a few other ideas, like a good bookie is going to figure in injuries too, but they let the market shuffle that until they raise limits anyway. I want to talk buy low, sell high. So let's go with buy low first. I'll start if that's okay.
Sure.
I got South Florida as a buy low team, and they're 112th on Ken Palm. This team plays amazing defense, and when that shows up, it shows up hard. And no, they're number 5 on Ken Palm. Looks like a bunch of teams dropped after last night. So I wrote this down last night. But what I like about South Florida here is that they do have FAU coming up. And I'm not sure if they win that game, but I would expect FAU to be a big favorite, and they might cover that one. But even more in the next week, they're going to get SMU at home as a dog. I like that spot a lot next week, Sunday. And I think UTSA on the road, they will smoke UTSA. I mean, they have them as an 8-point favorite. UTSA is a terrible team that is in the red in most of their categories. Their defense ranks 358th. So even like a deficient offense like South Florida should be able to put the smack down. If it's too high against Florida Atlantic, I'll take them. But South Florida is one of mine. I have another one as well. Virginia, my man. Virginia at number 51 on Ken Palm. So this coach is too good to be number 51 on Ken Palm. He had a young team to start out, right? He kind of got the boys rolling a little bit out there. He has some senior leadership too, but mostly compared to Virginia teams in the past, young team. But now they're coming off that loss at home against Pittsburgh. They finally dropped one, and they're not the best shooting team, but they keep getting better. They had a hell of a run, 8 wins in a row. Now the ACC, say what you want about them, but it's still tough to get 8 wins in a row, and 4 of those games were away. I was really impressed how they beat Florida State. They're facing Wake Forest coming up at home. That might be the spot this Saturday, my man. Little hint, hint, hint. Well, that's what I got. What do you have for some buy low teams?
Well, I agree with everything you said. I don't think that Virginia is only going to be a 1-point home favorite to Wake on Saturday. I think they'll be 3.5 or 4, but Ken Palm had them at -1. And yes, I would love Virginia in that scenario. I had Virginia at FSU last week, laying that short number. Now I did have them in a money line parlay with San Diego State the other night when they that one did not turn out well, but Pitt's playing real well, and Pitt went in there, and Pitt's been good on the road. And back to your South Florida, and I've got my own buy low stuff too, but I just, yeah, what a job Amir Abdur Rahim has done this year in season one. I mean, they've won 10 in a row, 8-0-2 against the spread. If you go all the way back to December 9th, when they pimp slapped FSU, South Florida 16-1 straight up, 13-1-3 against the spread. Unfortunately for them, and I get it, it was a transition year one, not playing a tough schedule. They don't have any quad one games because, I mean, they're 18-5 straight up overall. I was looking to see, like, are they like a, fringe dark horse team on the bubble? They're not, though. They got too many bad losses. I mean, they lost to Maine and Hofstra and Central Michigan. But, for our purposes, ATS is all we care about. They're 15-5-3 against the spread. So, yeah, South Florida has been dynamite this season. I'll go the future route in terms of buying low. And I got Creighton at 60-1 last week. I believe that was right when they're coming off the 1-point home loss to Butler. Now they're down to 45-1 this week at FanDuel, 50-1 at DraftKings. But I still think Creighton's worth a shot at 45-1 or 50-1. I mean, Elite Eight team last year got beat by a free throw there with 4 or 5 seconds left. I thought they were in control of that game against San Diego State down the stretch. They're veteran squad, good coach.
Well, there's a foul at the end of that game. I mean, that was very questionable. You're like, you seriously going to give San Diego State the game on that? And that's really what it was. It was a bad call, and San Diego State got 2 free throws, hit them, and the game was over. It was a last second situation. I'm like, it was bad.
Yeah, it was Heartbreak Hotel, and I remember McDermott had a good post game speech that kind of made its rounds around Twitter and whatnot. And now I know they lost Nimhart to Gonzaga, but it's a lot of the same people, and I'll be shocked if Creighton's not back in the Sweet 16, and when they get that far, they will have a good chance at this. Another team that FAU's sitting there at 75-1. I mean, I know they're not covering many numbers, but they're laying big numbers in this conference they're in. I mean, you saw what they did to Arizona. Had a great game with Illinois. Beat A&M, beat Butler, beat Virginia Tech on neutral courts. I mean, this is the same team that got beat at the buzzer in the Final Four last year. I think FAU's ready for another deep push. 75-1. Just get us a Sweet 16. We'll turn that thing into a nice profit.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah,
if they don't win the American Athletic Conference, are they in because of that Arizona win? And I guess you can throw in Butler and the Texas A&M wins. Are they in anyway? Because I see 5 losses here. And usually these teams end up on bubbles before the season. I mean, they can't really beat anybody good, I guess, if you're going to call SMU good. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. The AAC is a good conference. It's not one of those bad conferences. But you wonder what the committee is going to say to them. I think they bring them in because of last year, personally.
Oh, I think they're very comfortably in. I mean, Lunardi in his last bracketology, which was Tuesday morning, he had them as a 6th seed. I feel like, and here's a good follow for your listeners on Twitter. It's @made for March. I just discovered him last year, and oh man, he's really good. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had FAU as a 5 seed. He usually puts out an updated one like twice a week. I think he had him as a 5 seed as recent as last week, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, no, I think they're comfortably in. I mean, you're right about a couple of bad losses, to Bryant.
Haslametrics has a 12 seed right now. Has them as a 12.
Really? Seriously?
Yeah, his stuff is really good over there. It's just, but it's not like it doesn't mean he misses. I mean, it's just it's getting close,
Well,
I would
well,
say.
the net has them at 27 right now. Ken Palm 29. I think they're comfortably in, and I think they're ready for another deep push. But look,
What's it take for the net top 36? Because I think after that it's
sounds
all
about right.
conference winners. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. So that's pretty comfortable. They just can't afford another loss or two, let's say.
yeah. Because I mean, they have like potential bad losses, like Temple at home tonight.
Florida College
Are we
University.
recording? Are we recording today or tomorrow? It's live, so we are recording, right?
That's right, my man.
I mean, I'm asking, like, can I say Thursday? Anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean you're right. FAU is probably some good value there because look who they beat. I mean Arizona's a beast of a team. It was a neutral court. It shows that they have the gumption to do it. I mean any bet over 50-1
Yeah,
on a team that shows that they can compete with the big boys is not a bad one, in my opinion. I think you're good there at 75-1. I agree with that. So yeah, Florida, that does tie into your buy low ones for sure.
and I'll throw out one more. Just because they've lost back-to-back games, um, Boise State. I believe they've got here. I'm getting to their page here. They've got some good games coming up. That just going off the Ken Palm. I think they're going to be in good spots. I mean, they got run out of Logan against Utah State. What was that, this past Saturday night? But
Well, they're two
uh,
tough away games. Colorado State and Utah State
right,
are not easy.
right, and that's why I'm saying buy low because they're off those back to back. Even they've lost 3 of 5 going back to the Utah State game at home, which they never should have lost. But and I'm not saying laying these big numbers against these upcoming teams, but I see. Well, it's not till March 2nd, but they're listed as a home dog to New Mexico. Well, they already won at the pit. I would like them there. They're listed as a 2-point home favorite. Again, this is Ken Palm. It could be off a couple points, but a 2-point home favorite to Nevada. Oh my God, I would love Boise in that spot. So, and I think Boise. I mean, we saw San Diego State make a run, but other than that, it's Mountain West has been so pathetic in the tournament the last decade. But I think Boise State. I think they can win a game or two this year.
So it was unfortunate for that bet that everybody likes. Mountain West, I think it's under, oh God, what was it? Under 6.5, no, like 4.5 wins in the tournament or something. And like every team lost their
Except San
first
Diego
game.
State.
San Diego State goes to the freaking end and it wins 5 games. It's just them by themselves took that bet off, man. But that's
and I know that was a
popular.
popular pick, taking the under on the Mountain West because it's been hitting every single year, with last year being a bad beat exception.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so buy low and on Florida Atlantic's future there. I like it. And Boise State, they could be very sneaky here. They're definitely a bubble team too that has a shot. I think this Mountain West Conference, I almost look at them as like a Power 5 conference type now. Power 7 until Pac-12's gone, then we're down to Power 6, right? So I look at them as one of the serious conferences that you have to. The other ones that are considerable is the Atlantic 10 and the American Athletic Conference, probably. But that's really about it. I mean, when it comes to college basketball, let's go to sell high. All right, so I'll start with Houston, and I'm not saying that they're not necessarily a top team. I don't think they're one. I got UConn number 1. I just think that their field goal percentage is just not there, and that's dangerous. I don't care how good your defense is in tournaments or when you face a hot team. If you can't catch up, you're going to be in some trouble because if you're getting those hoity-toity whistles that happens all the time in college basketball, your defense is going to have to take a break. And the other team, if they're hitting some threes, you have to play catch up. And you're 232nd in effective field goal percent, and that's on Ken Palm. You're of course number 1 on defense. Don't get me wrong. Great rebounding team on offense, great defensive team, but there's just spots where you can be in a lot of trouble if you're Houston. So they need to clean that up a little bit. I know their offensive efficiency is so high because they don't turn the ball over and they rebound the ball so well. But if you face a tall team that can rebound, that can shoot, you're in trouble. And your free throw percentage, ranking 305th in the nation. That's not a good sign either. So Houston is
Mm-mm.
sell. Yes, yeah. Houston sell high. And my other one's BYU. Now,
Ah, you took words out of my mouth. Go ahead.
but you're, I mean, was it like a month and a half ago? BYU is a buy low team, but now you got to sell high on this team a little bit. They show a little bit of fraud when they're away from home. I mean, they're going to be laying what 8-9 points probably against Oklahoma State this weekend. That's one that you might want to key in on. Oklahoma State's a really tough bet. They choke it away at the end, but man, how many points is it going to take here? BYU, they have the skill. Mark Pope's doing a great job, but they don't get to the free throw line. They only rank 354th in getting to the free throw line. I don't love that about them. And their schedule has just been, when they hit the Big 12, reality hit them a little bit in the face. They lost at home to Cincinnati by 11 points. They lost to Houston by 7. They lost some away games to Texas Tech, Baylor, and Oklahoma, for God's sake. That was a nasty loss to Oklahoma, too. So wait till they kind of have to go to Kansas State coming up here. Go to Iowa State, dude. I wish the number was better on Iowa State because I missed it, and it's only 20-1 for Iowa State. I think you'll get that by the time the tournament starts. But Jesus Christ, if I had another future to play, I'd probably play Iowa State. But I will sell high on BYU, my man.
Yeah, no, BYU was my main team that I was wanting to sell high, and
great minds, my man. Great minds. I should let you go first.
And you nailed it with how they're just not that good when they leave home, and which takes me back to 2011 in New Orleans when we played Jimmer's last game, and the Gators played them in the Sweet 16. I mean, they had like 12,000 fans in New Orleans, and so I know they pack it when they're at home, but you mentioned some of the games they've lost on the road, and I know these KenPom numbers are way off, but I mean, they've got BYU as a 4-point road favorite at K-State at the Octagon of Doom on the 24th of February. I would love K-State if it's something near that, and has them only a 1-point underdog at Kansas on February 27th. Get out of here. I would lay
that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen at all. I think Kansas will be minus 5 or 6.
I guarantee it's a lot of people don't know this, but home court advantage is way more than 3 points, especially in the fog. It's 6 points. And I told people that when Kansas played Houston, because KenPom had Houston a 6-point favorite, and then it closed at like Kansas minus 2 or 3. It's like, seriously, it is a massive home field advantage. I think that goes for a lot of teams. And I think standard home field has really moved to 5 according to the market, not according to KenPom. KenPom's using 3 and stuff according to the market.
Yeah, I mean, so I would, and look, I'm not trying to pick on BYU. They've had a great year. Mark Pope should be up there for one of the leading candidates for national coach of the year, along with Lamont Paris and Abdul Rahim at USF won't get any national love unless they pull a couple upsets against bigger teams coming up. But Pope's done a great job, but I just think that they're getting way too much respect from the market right now. Not necessarily as much still, but St. John's has been getting a little too much respect from the market, in my opinion, here for a while now. So anyway, those were a couple of teams that I was thinking of.
St. John's was up by double digits against Marquette and lost by 11 points. I had them plus 7.5 at Marquette. Marquette's burned me twice, and I have to stay away from Marquette game. Don't let me touch a Marquette game, Brian. Hit the buzzer.
Stay away, Kiev.
Stay away. I'm like, awesome. So you have any more futures to talk about?
I'm not against Clemson at 100-1.
Dang, that's a good number.
Yeah, I mean, Gerard can shoot it. Miami had like a 4-point lead with 4.5 minutes left, and what they end up losing by almost 20. They finished the Wednesday night's game on like a 22-4 run or something wild like that. Yeah, I like Clemson's team, man. They play good D. and they've got more scorers than normal. Gerard was such a huge get. PJ Hall coming back was big. I mean, I don't think they're going to make the Final Four, but if you got a 100-to-1 ticket and they get the Sweet 16, you can start hedging. You take their opponent's odds to win the region, odds to win it all, or just take their opponent. I don't know if they would be favored, but we'd have to see the matchups come then.
Right.
But you get to the Sweet 16 with a 100-to-1 number, you're in business. And I think Clemson's has a look of a Sweet 16 to me. And I also got 100-to-1 on South Carolina about 2 weeks ago. Now, obviously, they got humbled Wednesday night at Auburn, but Auburn's been kicking the teeth out of everybody that comes there. And I know we'll talk more about that in a little while.
Yeah, but yep. We got a little hodgepodge action going on here when we get into that. So no, I like those futures here. I already have a few. I have Michigan State at 61, Wisconsin at 55-1. I have UConn at 10-1. I could, of course, took them late, but I mean, seriously, UConn. I mean, I think they're at 6-1 now. I just think that UConn. I think this is a ticket that I can just not even worry about until the Final Four, and probably not even hedge that until later. I mean, that's that. There's no reason to it. I might not hedge it at all if they're playing like they did last year. But I could see. I did take Grand Canyon as my this year's FAU team to make the Final Four at 100-1. So I think Grand Canyon might be in as an at-large, and they have 2 losses: South Carolina and the ugly one at Seattle. But I mean, when you have 22 wins and one of your wins is San Diego State and San Francisco, they could have an argument of just having that good of a schedule, or just that many wins in their schedule. Now they have to run the table and probably go all the way to the end in their tournament. But either way, I expect them to win their tournament at the WAC. And I think they're kind of sneaky. I think their offense is pretty good. They get to the free throw line all the time. They're number 27th in offensive rebounding. Now it's just an idea out there. I think McNeese State's another sneaky one too, if you want to get sneaky. But
I like that guy that they have that can dunk, who can jump and dunk.
Dude.
I'm forgetting his name, but he can play.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either. I see highlights of him all the time, but Will Wade making the comeback. Now he's now got a raise to $700,000 a year from McNeese taxpayers there. 7 or whatever boosters are there. I don't know who that is, but I mean the man got a raise there. And maybe is it Shahada Wells, the small guard that jumps out of the maybe it's him. I can't remember.
No, here, I'm going to go to the roster. I'll tell you who it is.
Okay. I've seen a few of those highlights, but
maybe I think it's Shoemate, isn't it?
Okay. Christian Shoemate. Okay. Yep.
I believe
maybe it's him. Well, hopefully we get to watch some more McNeese State games, because it's just fun to say the bee's knees, McNeese, it's great. Rolls right off the tongue, Brian.
Right.
Yes, let's get some games, dude. We got some big games this week. A huge weekend of college basketball, and I like some of the rivalries kind of coming up here. And I'll get started with Arizona State versus Arizona. Now, Ken Pom says this is 20-point spread. I say 18. I hope it's 18 or more, and that gives you the hint of where I'm going. Now, this is a better rivalry than people think. Last year, ASU lost to Arizona at home by 9 early in the season, but they went to Tucson later, and this is when Arizona was like the number 2 team in the nation. They went to Tucson and freaking beat them. Man, just beat them last year. This is a serious rivalry, and these kids care about it. I think this spread's going to be too much. Now, there's no metric that really favors them that much. Get me right, and this is why the spread's going to be 18-20, man. Arizona's got most of the matchup advantages here, but I think they can hang on that defense a little bit. That ranks 48th in efficiency. They have a decent defense there. And if you look, they're kind of heating up a little bit. The trend line's kind of going up on this team slightly. They won their last 2 games. One was a very tough environment at Utah. You go to win at Utah, that says something. And then they slapped Oregon State at home. And Not saying Oregon State's good. They're the worst team in the Pac-12. But when you beat them by 15, 16, 17 points, it almost says that you kind of almost belong with the rest of them. I just think that 18 to 20 points in rivalry games too much. I'm taking Arizona State, and they play fast. If they can hit some shots, they can put Arizona in a little bit of trouble. You have a lot of points to cover this. Sprinkle that money line a little bit. Maybe you'll get that 20-1 goodness that could possibly happen. But I'm liking this one, my man.
Well, Arizona State got hot this time last year and saved Hurley's job. They better get hot again if they want to see if they want to keep him again. Says, I think Hurley's going to be a goner if they don't get going. But they did get going late last season. In fact, I had them a few times late last year. I haven't.
Well,
been
they won the
involved in
play-in game against Nevada last year. They won the play-in game, and then they, of course, lost to TCU by only 2 points. But they won 2 games in their Pac-12 tournament, then lost to Arizona. But yeah, Hurley's on the hot seat no matter what. And if these guys have any dignity, they're going to put one up for the coach and obviously for this rivalry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything to the contrary of what you said. Yeah, it would be the big underdog in the rivalry game or pass.
Let's go to your game, my man. Let's start right with the Gators, right with your team, your alma mater here. Now, I'm going to say this spread's going to be Georgia plus 2.5, okay, at home against Florida. Is that fair? Am I off? You think it's 3? You think it's 1?
I wrote down 4.5. I saw Ken Palm had 3, so no, I think your number's fair. If it is 4 or fewer, then I will be on the Gators, who rarely lose at Steedman. They have had a ton of success there, so they've won 9 in a row in the rivalry. But the last Georgia win was in Gainesville in 2019. So I'd have to go back and look it up, and I haven't done that. I apologize, but I don't remember the last time Florida lost in Athens. It's been a long time, and now they had a 21-point lead to Georgia early in the second half on January 27th, and Georgia came all the way back and forced overtime. Worked for me though, because my Gators ended up winning sloppily, but they did end up winning, and I had Georgia plus like 7.5 or 8 pregame, and then I had added them a couple of in-game bets at plus 11.5, plus 15.5. So it worked perfect for me. If Florida is 4 or fewer, I will be on them, and they are just playing really well now. I mean, they're not finishing games the way they should. Again, kind of like the Georgia game in late January, had a 20-point lead a few nights ago. LSU comes back, ties the game. Florida, Jordan Wright had like a little 8-footer uncontested to force overtime at the buzzer and missed it. But look, Florida should be on a 7-game winning streak. They're 6-1 straight up, 5-2 against the spread the last 7, but the only loss was at A&M 2 Saturdays ago, and Florida led nearly the entire game, led by like 5 with like 2 minutes left or a minute and a half left, and ended up losing 67-66. So that's on them. They're not finishing games the way they should. Shot selection's kind of an issue. They struggle to get stops, but man, Zion Pullen is one of the best guards in the country and probably one of the best kept secrets in the nation. And Walter Clayton Jr. is playing terrific right now. And Florida, I don't know what the stats say on their offensive rebounding, but I can tell you without looking at any stats, they're one of the best teams in the country at hitting the offensive boards.
Number two, baby.
Yeah. And Howell and Condon, the 2 freshman bigs, they're just getting better every game. And I love them because they know how to play. They play smart. And those guys aren't. One of them's an Aussie guy, used to play Australian rules football, and he loves getting physical. And he's not like that thick, but he loves banging in there. And then obviously Tyrese Samuel is a beast, and Handlockton is, just so big and tall. So yeah, and Georgia, by the way, is had a good run there. It's having a pretty good season. They had won 10 in a row, but now they've lost. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. They've lost 5 in a row and 2-7 in their last 9. Now they've covered some of those games they've lost, but anyhow, Florida's 4 or fewer, and hopefully it'll be 2.5 or 3, where you had it, and Ken Palm at 3. I would love the Gators at 4 or fewer.
Yeah, Georgia is a choke job. That's what they do. They're ahead for 3/4 of the game, and then they just give the
You
game
had
away on
them
the spread.
against Alabama, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I had the money. I had them against Tennessee too, and the money line.
Oh, they were up
But
11 with 7 minutes left.
yeah. Well, thank God I covered that still, because it was. I think I had 7.5. They lost by 6. One more freaking buck,
Yes.
and there's a bunch of misses and Fall City. They just couldn't hit a shot, and I expect them to do the same thing. Now the problem is they went to Florida and almost won, and went to overtime, lost by 3-4 points, right? So so that's why I think the spread stays under 3 for you. I think that they're going to look at that. I think the market's going to look at it, and I think that's going to give you a number. So my thoughts on Georgia is I'm never betting them for a full freaking game again until I can see them finish a game. But I would consider them in the first half, and maybe you do this. Maybe you get super cute, and this could go completely bad on you. But instead of your 2-unit bet, you put a unit on Georgia in the first half, put a unit on Florida in the second, for the full game pre-flop, and just watch. I mean, you're going to get Georgia as a dog, any plus money. Lots of time, halftime scores are tied in basketball. So you're going to possibly hit both bets. Maybe you go a little higher on Florida in case you're not sure, but that's the only way I would bet this. But if it's a 2.5, yeah, I'm with you. I think I would be with you on Florida there. So I agree with you. I mean, offensive rebounding like that, Florida is going to compete with a lot of teams down the stretch, and I can't wait to see them against Bama coming up, because they already went through the gauntlet.
Got them twice.
Hell, beating Auburn like that was freaking awesome. I agree with you. I think Florida could be a very dangerous tournament team, and they're in now. So I'm excited
I didn't mean to cut you off. We got Alabama actually coming up twice. Got them in Gainesville and in T-Town. And now Florida's got to get better defensively if they want to make any noise in the big boy tournament. But playing well right now. And I'm excited about it. All my teams suck except for this one's getting pretty good.
I feel you there, man. Well, speaking about what we said about sell high, I think this is a little hint here. Houston is going to be playing Texas, and Houston's going to host Texas, and Houston's going to be about an 8-point favorite. 9 is what Ken Palm says. I don't think it's 9. Yeah, maybe you'll get your 9 if you're going to want to wait to bet it. I'm going to write 8. I hope it's not 7. Total, probably 133-ish. Houston's defense is the best in the league, but this kind of just goes about what I'd said for a sell high team. It looks like a normal game on paper, Brian, but I mean, the truth is this is kind of for the integrity of Texas. I think, I know Texas Tech's there, so I'm not forgetting about you, Texas Tech, but Houston survived at Texas in overtime. That was overtime game, and they won 76-72 on January 29th. And God, I think that Texas was only like a 3-point dog. I think you had a bad beat on that one probably too if you bet Texas. And that was.
I was just gonna say, covers. It was 4.5 that game.
Oh,
but
well, maybe
it could have been all over the place in different books. So.
For sure. Well, either way, it's a nail biter. I'm not going to say like that Houston obviously doesn't have the best defense. I think they do. But like I said, ranking 144th in field goal percentage, they better hope Texas is cold, because Texas ranks 25th in effective field goal percentage. That means they're hitting their threes, and they're 18th in offensive efficiency. If they get hot, they're going to put the Cougars once again in a very tough spot. They have talent there. DCU's a beast. They have a lot of they have good ball pressure, just like Houston does. Houston's got great ball pressure, but I think they're going to defend well, and I think the total's probably right. But one advantage that Texas has, and you can see it on Haslametrics, is near proximity scoring. The Longhorns rank 10th in adjusted scoring by the rim, and Houston ranks 99th in defending it. So Houston's not super strong in defending the low post or possibly people taking it to the hole. And Texas just knows a few things here. They need this win to move up. Texas has kind of been underachievers this year. They're 25th on KenPom. They're 16-8. They've had a rough Big 12 schedule, and they still have some decent wins away at TCU, Oklahoma away, Baylor at home. That was a close game, but this is going to be too big of a spread for a Big 12 game in the heat of the conference season here, where they're trying to move for positions, right? They're trying to get the position. It's a Texas rivalry. I'm taking Texas if it's 8. The only time I wouldn't take Texas if it gets below 7, probably, because I could see Foul City happening. But here's the thing: if Foul City happens, Houston still, like I said, ranks only 305th at 68% and free throw percentage. So you're in pretty good shape here. If you're down 6, down 5, and it's Foul City time, Houston might miss those 1-and-1s and give the Texas an extra possession on a couple of those fouls. So I'm on Texas, my man.
I hear you, man. I don't want to go against Houston at home, especially if they're single digits. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to like Houston in the game. That's probably a game I will throw out with not a lot of interest.
Yeah, and Houston has been an absolute beast at home. They haven't had a close
Yeah.
game at home, so that's the dangerous thing. But you do look at their schedule; it was very weak in the non-conference, and they still haven't faced Kansas at home yet, or Iowa
Yeah,
State at home.
they got
They
a
haven't.
tough run of games coming up.
They do. They have Iowa State on deck after Texas. So and granted, it's at home, but they lost to Iowa State. This could be something they're thinking about a little bit more. They already beat Texas. Could be a slightly flat spot for them. So I'm not excited about winning single digits or taking single digits. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excited about it, but Texas, it's for the marbles, in my opinion, for them. So
Yeah,
that's my old.
I'm not against going against Houston. I would just rather do it when they're at Baylor
Away.
or or on the road. I just don't want to mess with them in their house.
Yeah, hence that home court advantage, my man. Well, that makes sense. I feel you on that one. I'm trying to this year, and these dogs get tempting. Trust me. I limit my away a little bit more. I'm going to pick my spots better. I'm not going to go away from it because there's value, but I'm going to pick my spots a little bit better away because that's where I've been losing a little bit, especially with South Carolina yesterday. Let's move on to the next game. Nevada versus UNLV. And you picked this one, man. Go into the Mountain West. Look at you. +1. Total is 140. Brian, do you have something special on this one?
Yeah, man. I like how UNLV is playing, and I've been keeping a close eye on this team since they won outright at Boise. Now they they're a little schizophrenic. I mean, they lost by 32 at home to Air Force as
Yeah.
a 10.5 point favorite. So, but they've had their act together since then. They have won 5 in a row. Now 4-1 ATS in that stretch. They go to the pit and went outright, which I believe only Boise State has done that. This year, they only lost by 3 at Colorado State. If I'm remembering right, they had the lead pretty late in that game. I think CSU had to rally there late. They won at Boise, like I mentioned. Only lost by 1 to Utah State. They've actually already swept Richard Pitino's Lobos, and they got off to a terrible start to the season, but really righted the ship when they beat Creighton. It wasn't at Thomas and Mack, but it was in the Vegas area. Beat Creighton by 15 as a 13.5 point dog. Then nearly won against St. Mary's, lost by 2 in overtime. So, after a rough start, Kevin Kruger's team is playing really well. And, against Nevada, I should say, in this spot, and I'm trying to get to KenPom here to see what. So Nevada is going to be a 1 point favorite per KenPom. I tend to think UNLV will be a short favorite, and I would probably like UNLV perhaps as much as -3. But anything, -2 or fewer, or a short home dog, I would like UNLV in that spot against the Wolfpack.
What's interesting is that, both of these teams are extremely inconsistent. You look at the consistency rating, they're kind of all over the board for Nevada and UNLV. They're just like you mentioned, that Air Force game is kind of all over the place, my man. One thing that,
How's that happen?
I don't, dude. I mean, teams get hot. A lot of people, including myself, took a shot at DePaul just for a little bit of money and got our ass kicked against UConn. It was like, well, it's a terrible spot for UConn, but it didn't matter. It's just you try to pick your spots and pick them wisely. But the UNLV, I kind of like to back them at home for sure. I think that the rebounding, their second chance percentage points ranks 6th in the nation. I think that's important when you look at UNLV. I try to use multiple sites when I handicap gains and look for edges, but at home, yeah, the shots are not going down for Nevada. Nevada's got a few deficiencies themselves. They're not a perfect team. Their offensive rebound only ranks 237th. Their defensive rebounding isn't the greatest. They play a little bit slow. Their effective field goals only in the 100s. They could certainly lose this game. Yeah. They're coming off a tough loss too. It's like kind of a heartbreaker. When you're coming off a heartbreaker and then you have to hit the road, you question yourself a little bit. So UNLV, maybe even like a first half bet on UNLV might not be the worst idea either. UNLV, I do like how they are a pretty efficient team on offense here. So they ripped off a lot of good wins in a row. So there it is. Spread's got to be below 2. I would look personally more the money line for myself. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the money line, as long as it's worth it. Like, in other words, like the Chiefs, and not to get on another sport, but the Chiefs Niners, like people were asking me last week, are you going to money line it? And I'm like, I mean, is it really worth it if they lose by 1 or 2 to get plus 115?
yeah,
So in other
exactly.
words, if it's like, if I can get plus 130 or so, sure. But I would rather bet them, getting 2.5 or well, I mean, we don't know what their line's going to be, but just to make sure, I would not want to lose the bet because I went money line and, like, let's say the Niners would have beat the Chiefs by 1. And then also last week with Super Bowl is you could have just gone Mahomes to win MVP and got a better return than the plus
it was like
115 money line.
plus, yeah, it was like plus 120, 125 for Mahomes MVP. It was a little bit better. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Just
there
depends
was
where you
some
go.
135s, 140 out there in
Okay.
a few spots. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Last year, UNLV beat Nevada 68-62 at home. So I think UNLV is a better team than they were last year. So think about that. I like the recent matchups too, because
Yeah, they've
these
won
teams,
4 in a row over them.
yeah. Oh, there you go. 4 in a row. I mean, that's great. That's a great number.
Yeah.
So that's something
Straight
to
up and
consider here.
ATS.
I'm gonna write this one down. UNLV for Saturday. Check that out when it comes out, my friend. Let's move on to the next game. And I have Duke versus the semis, your favorite team to hate, my man. The semis should be about 4.5 point dog. Is that fair? 4.5?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, I will make a rare exception to root for the semis as long as it's basketball and they're playing Duke. I'm not opposed to rooting for the semis against Duke. Now, not as much now that Coach K is gone, but I don't like Shire at all either. He's a punk. He's not as big of a punk as Coach K, but he's a punk.
I don't need to say why I hate Duke so much. I've said it so many freaking times. It's probably driving listeners nuts. But I'm not a Duke fan, but I do bet on him sometimes. But not today. Smelly home dog. Duke played well against some of the bad ACC teams, but I mean, it's not like they're a great road team. You saw what happened at North Carolina. They just couldn't get it back into that game. They had plenty of opportunity to get back into that game. They didn't. Florida State's got advantages in certain areas, shooting mid-range, shooting near proximity. I'm going to try to find this game where I pulled it up on, here it is. I'll share my screen on Haslametrics. You can see there's some green here for Florida State. Mid-range, near proximity, fast break points. That's PPST, potential quick points off breakaway steals. They have an advantage. And second chance per points. 51st, and Duke at defending second chance points is 201st. Now, Duke's got that advantage too, but Florida State's got a little bit better of an advantage with some of those tall guys. I mean, coach wise, I go with the experience more. I personally like Florida State side better. Shireman, you can say, has a lot of big shoes to fill. For Shire, I said Shireman, I meant Shire. But when it comes to Hamilton, Hamilton's been there, done that. And he knows that this is time to turn this team around. This is it. They need this win if they want to get in the NCAA tournament. They do. They need this win. This team is 13-11, right? They're not even on the bubble yet because, they have a Wake Forest as their best win. I guess Colorado on a neutral, but they're not on the bubble yet. They need Duke. They beat Duke at home. They get sent to the bubble. And that would project them to possibly make the tournament. I think that Florida State could be a very dangerous team if they just get their shooting together. They're a young team. I'll take 4.5. What about you?
I'm not against it. I probably would have to be getting 6-ish to back FSU. Now, I'm not saying I'm not interested in Duke at all, and I want FSU to win, like I said, because I hate Duke and FSU's. They can help the Gators' resume by winning a little bit down. And look, they've got 3 quad 1 opportunities here coming up, starting with Duke and then at Clemson and at Pitt. They probably got to sweep all those to get into really get into the bubble convo. But I would probably need to get 6. But if FSU's getting 6 or more, I could be interested. I mean, they've lost 4 or 5, but they're losing close games. Now they obviously should never lost at Louisville, but that North Carolina game was close. The Virginia game was close. Lose by 8 at Vatek the other night. So it's not like they're getting run off the floor or anything. And they had a good stretch there. They beat Vatek and Wake at home, won at Miami, and got a pretty good neutral court win over Colorado from earlier in the year. Oh, and they beat my boys from UNLV earlier in the year as well.
Yeah. I mean, it gets them to the bubble, but not into the yet. I agree with that. And so they do have to win a few more games to get past the bubble. Now, what I will say is that, Duke, all solid, but they've had some bad drops. I mean,
sure.
Pittsburgh, they lost that ugly one at home. If you look early in the season, Arkansas and Georgia Tech, very ugly losses. The funny thing about Duke is
they could have lost at home to Wake the other night. Wake did not shoot the ball like they normally do.
Yeah. Wake looked terrible that game.
Wake couldn't buy a basket terrible all night.
Absolutely. Isn't that one of your sell high teams? I think I skipped you on that. Wasn't Wake one of your sell high teams? I thought so.
Yeah, but we kind of incorporated it into our Virginia conversation because they were playing each other on Saturday. But yes, I was thinking Wake sell high. That's another team that Florida has played this year. So that's a team I actually am rooting for, unless I'm betting against them, just to help my Gators resume.
For sure. And you got to look at that, for your fandom. Definitely. But no, this is just the spot Florida State has to put up or shut up, right? It's the spot they need to make it close. Ken Palm's got this as a 6-point spread. I would freaking love it if this is a 6-point spread. I don't think it's going to be a 6-point spread, but I certainly, wouldn't mind it being a 6-point spread. There's a point I was going to make. I kind of forgot what it was. Oh, the over. Yeah, dude, I think I might like the over even more, especially if you're getting like 3 points only or something, 3.5. Then I'm going to look to the over here. If you look, Duke plays very fast. Now, they're playing some good enough defense where other teams play slow against them, but I think that's going to compound a little bit when another team that plays very fast, like Florida State, ranking 41st in average possession length, 31st in tempo itself, plays this team. I see points this game. Look at how many times Florida State gets to the free throw line. They rank 59th. That they get to the line. You got to like that. Duke always shoots free throws, it seems.
I wonder why.
I wonder why, baby. I think if this total is 150 and I'm only getting a 4 or 3.5, I might just choose the over instead. So I think we're going to pivot and say, let's make it 4.5 or better, or take the over, or do both. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think if Duke covers this, then it goes over.
How about that? How about the way? How about how Clemson got hosed at Cameron a couple weeks back?
Yeah. Oh, dude,
I mean, like seriously, and then Shire after the game, like acting like people are insane to like that they shouldn't have gotten that call. I'm like, come on, man.
Dude. It's
they're Dukies.
That foul
was
happening all game, and you weren't calling it, and then you call it just to fix the game at the end. That I hate that more than anybody else. But the problem is you start arguing on Twitter about this stuff. Someone brings up some camera shot of like the first half with 3 minutes left where there could have been a foul, and then the next person does it on the other side, then the next person, and it's just like nobody's getting anywhere. It's just that.
Oh, and now that I think about this, didn't you reply to my remarks on Twitter about that call maybe that day? I feel like you might have.
I might have. If it was Duke, if you mentioned Duke, it probably shoots to the top of my news feed.
Sure.
All right. Well, let's finish this. Well, we have a few hodgepodge, but you got Creighton versus Butler here, and Butler is +1 total. I have it about 149. So I think you mentioned Creighton earlier in the season. Is this a hint to what side you're leaning towards in this game?
Yeah, man, I would probably lay up to 3. And I know Butler's playing good ball right now. I would probably lay up to 3 with Creighton. Big revenge spot as Butler goes into Omaha and gets a 99 to 98 win on February 2nd. And if the total's 149, I'm gonna lean to the over as well, as the over is on a 6-1 run for the Blue Jays. But yeah, like I was, just talking about earlier in the show when I was saying I think Creighton's worth a shot at 45 or 50 to 1 future ticket. I think his team's ready to get hot. I mean, obviously they lost that was a thriller against Providence. That might have been the best game I've watched all year. Was Creighton at Providence last week? I think it went to 3 overtimes. Talking about some elite shot making. So, Creighton, they've only got 2 losses since January 20th, but one was the aforementioned, multiple overtime game at Providence. The other one was by 1 to Butler. So, they can avenge that loss with a win at home on Saturday. And yeah, I'm sorry, not at home on Saturday. What am I talking? At Butler, at Hinkle. And I think they will. I think they'll get that done. I would lay probably all the way up to 3, but I don't think we're going to have to. I think it's going to be closer to pick them.
That'd be great. Of course, the time I actually go against Butler, I get screwed. I hope not. But one thing I will say about Creighton is, unless you're playing a great defensive team, they win. They will win those games, and they're just the better finesse team out of a lot of others. And you saw that last year a little bit in the NCAA tournament when, they finally had to go up against San Diego State and really struggled. They played Baylor, which is more offense than defense. They beat Baylor, they beat Princeton, they beat NC State. And then obviously the San Diego State at the end is where the total went to 113 in that game. I mean, that's Creighton's crutch. And that's why they lost to UConn when they were away. That's why they lost to that very close game against Providence. Right. But, Butler, they did get them at home. It was a 1-score game, but Butler doesn't play lockdown defense. They only rank 82nd on KenPom and defense. They allow scoring to happen. They choke in the end. Yeah, Butler is probably. I'm confused with them. At first, I have them as a sell team, then a buy team. I completely shit the bed when it comes to Butler. But man, I just see all Creighton here, and they can shoot the ball very well. Fourth in effective field goal percent. They still have Kalkbrenner there, 7-1. If you bang him up, then he's bad. But if you let him play, then he's good. That's just the way it is. And Shireman in there, they're going to have a size advantage. Creighton's playing too for respect. Butler probably played themselves pretty close to the bubble. They're probably in because they have the Creighton win. They're in. Never mind. They have Texas Tech win too. But I think Creighton this would be a spot at Pick'em -1. Maybe I'll be on Creighton. I won't do it at -2, but that's not what the spread is showing right now. So I have agreement with you too. Let's do a little hodgepodge, dude. Before we get into UFC, let's bring up Friday's games. And you have Nova versus Georgetown. So Nova's going to be on the road laying 13 points or something. I mean, Haslametric has it, 14 points? I'm going to say it's probably going to be 11 or 12 points Nova's going to lay. Dude, I can't stand Kyle Neptune. I can't stand him. But at the same time, Georgetown.
I don't see him lasting very long there.
I don't either. And this is just a spot where I feel like Nova might assume they're going to sleepwalk past this one, I mean, but I will say that Georgetown's hard to bet because they've just been, Jesus, they're below George Mason, I think. They're down to 184th on KenPom. Look at this red, I mean, too bad they don't play DePaul every single game.
Too bad all of us don't get to play DePaul.
I know, dude. Right? We'd be studs, dude. We'd be studs.
Who the hell's going to take that job?
I know. This is just a hold your nose. Is there any integrity? If you appreciate Ed Cooley from the years that he's had, how many years was he at Providence, dude? Since 2011, right? Just 12 years at Providence. I mean, if you believe in him at all, you might take them as a double-digit dog. I mean, that's one idea. What about you?
Yeah, this game doesn't interest me a whole lot. What's KenPom got the total at?
KenPom's got the total at 141.
Yeah, I might be interested in the over. The over's on an 8-1 run for Georgetown. Nova, let's see. 6-4 to the over last.
We'll see. Nova will foul a ton at the end if they have to. So that always keeps the over involved with them.
Yeah, Georgetown just gives up so many points. They don't defend very well. That being my main interest in the over. And they have not played yet this year, so don't have a whatever combined score they would have had. Right. But it would be over would be my look or pass, and it probably
over a pass. And so another big one, San Diego State versus New Mexico. San Diego State's at home. I think New Mexico beat them last time. I'll pull up San Diego State. They lost at the rack, 88-70, kind of like a little revenge spot here for them. New Mexico has crazily lost 2 games at home, which is very strange, but they haven't lost away since UNLV on January 9th. So they kind of flipped it around and said, hey, we're a road team now. I'm on San Diego State maybe on that game, but I'm not laying past 3. The KenPom's got 4, so that's my thoughts. There is a game on here that I'm going to challenge our listeners with. I will be on probably as a premium play, but this team hasn't lost away since December, and I'm not saying who it is, but if you do your homework and look at the Friday slate, you can figure out who that is. But there's a very under the radar team that hasn't lost an away game in conference play. So just keep that in mind. I hope to hear from you on Twitter if you find out which one, but it's not too hard. You just got to look for the teams and figure it out.
I got to guess.
Go ahead.
VCU?
One guess. Nope.
VCU?
Nope. not
Huh?
VCU. Unless they did too, but no, I don't think it's VCU. And I'm pretty sure that they lost away a couple times already. Um, let's move on. So Sunday, here real quick, Sunday, I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
When Purdue is laying 12, 11, 10, whatever it is, at Ohio State on Sunday, Brian, do we have to bet Ohio State for the coach fired spot here?
Oh man, it does usually work. I feel like teams with that interim coach, it's usually a coach they were so ready to go away and they're usually
Yeah,
feeling so
yeah.
like a big weight off their shoulder. That asshole coach is gone, and they do usually play good that first game. With that said, we don't have to play Ohio State. And Purdue's been pretty good about covering a bunch of double-digit numbers this year. And just looking at Ohio State right now, man, it's been a struggle for them. It's no wonder they got rid of Holtman yesterday. Um, yeah, what did you say you thought the number would be? 12-ish? Is that what you said?
I think the number is going to be about 10 to 12.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No major opinion there. No opinion on that one.
All right. No opinion on that one. All right. Well, you know what? We have to talk UFC because it's a massive event here and we don't got a ton of time left. So I want to make sure we get this in, but we have a massive slate here. UFC 298. Ilya Topuria against Alexander Volkanovski. Before we get into the main card here, anything on the undercards, the prelims or the early prelims that stick out to you?
Oh man, I need to do some more research on these now Mackenzie Dern. I kind of want to see the face off, but I'm not against Mackenzie Dern as a small underdog. And I looked at the under price on the heavyweight fight with DeLima and Justin Tafa, but the under 1.5 was like more than the price to take the under was north of -200, so I can't do that. Now, a prop for the fight to end in round one, which I have not seen those odds. If that's kind of close to even money, I would consider that. But yeah, I've got some research to do on the undercard for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, Rogerio de Lima is old. He's 38
Yep.
years old. I mean, for fighting, he's got the better ground game. But the truth is that I mean, is Tafa even going to allow that? Tafa, 30 years old, in his prime, on a nice little run here. I could see him KOing de Lima. I mean, Jesus, he hasn't been to a third round since 5 fights ago against Jared Vandera and then Carlos Felipe before that. So this fight usually ends pretty early for him. Now, my problem is if Marcos does start wrestling and gets him on the ground, that's where it gets a little dicey here. I would consider a Tafa and Tafa by KO. So I did look at that one. I didn't bet it yet.
So I'm looking at that now. So FanDuel and Bet Rivers have Tafa by KO at plus 180. I kind of like that. I wouldn't risk a lot because you get almost a 2-to-1 return, but I'm okay with a Tafa win by KO play.
Okay, top plus 180, and that's the most assumable situation here. Rogerio de Lima usually his fights go out. 3 out of the last 5 didn't last, and yeah, he just. I mean, the Arlovsky fight. Arlovsky was so old and done by then. He was able to choke Arlovsky out, but Tafa's got the energy, I think, to move past that. So,
And I'll also note that, sorry to cut you off, but Tafa has won 3 in a row, all inside of 2 minutes in round one. And then the fourth fight, I was in Jacksonville. It was an accidental eye poke that 29 seconds in that made that a no contest. And all 7 of Tafa's career wins are by KO.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I'm glad you brought up Dern because I'm looking at Dern here. I bet her at plus 110. I could have got a better number earlier, but I didn't. But I still liked her as basically better than a pick 'em here. It's like I got this girl that will fight for you. She's got a lot going on in her life. She's loves social media. She's got all kinds of crazy pictures. Amanda Lemos is a fantastic opponent. Uh, I think I've made some money on Amanda Lemos, but the problem is I think she's going to lose this in the clinch. Lemos is taking care of a lot of middle of the road. She barely got a split versus Angela Hill, and Angela Hill is always in her fights. Lost to Andrade, and they both just lost to Andrade. And Andrade is just a weird fighter lately. It's like you think she's fading, and all of a sudden she comes back. Then she loses to Weili Zhang. And, Zhang beat her up the whole time. I watched that. Mackenzie Dern's good in the clinch, and she's going to show that she's good at wrestling, and she should be able to get Lemos down, in my opinion. I think that it's going to be probably a decision win, but I don't want to rule out anything. When I'm getting plus money on a dog, I don't want to get too cute on this one because they're not heavyweights like Tapa. I think just taking the plus 110 in a fight that you should be picking. If you look at what Dern has done, when she loses, she gets back up. She lost back in 2017 to Leslie Smith. Then she wins 5 in a row, including Angela Hill. Then she lost to Andrade. Then she comes back and beats Michelle Waterson Gomez, and it's choke. She chokes her out. She's a great wrestler. She's great at taking down. I think
she's 3-0 off a loss.
Yeah, 3-0 off a loss.
And I think she's probably in a better. I didn't watch her media scrum yesterday. I probably will just because I don't mind looking at her. But I think she's probably in a better place. She's been going through that divorce and custody battle and all that. I feel like she spent her whole media Wednesday media day talking about just that the last couple of fights. Now I haven't watched what she said in her media scrum Wednesday, but I did notice on Instagram it looks like a new boyfriend's in the picture. So I'm thinking Mackenzie is probably in a little better headspace than where she's been these last few fights.
For sure. If this is minus 120, Mackenzie, I probably don't do it. It's plus 110. That's where it is. You're getting a dog, a disrespected dog. You have to remember that dog means disrespect. These fighters know their odds. It's not like they don't know that stuff. So I agree with you on that. This undercard is interesting. Some weird fighters that haven't been in the UFC in a couple of them. The Josh Quinlan one looks a little bit interesting, but for the sake of time, let's get right into the main card. Starting with Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. Now, what's interesting about this is, Kopylov's a big dude. They're both supposed to be 6 foot, but Kopylov's got kind of like the bigger stature. This fight keeps climbing, and it was minus 170 last week on Anthony Hernandez. Now it's like minus 240, minus 250. This is a big public side. I hate being on the freaking public side, but I think Anthony Hernandez has enough forward pressure, enough takedown to really tire Kopylov out. Now, of course, there's always the part where Hernandez could get popped, and that's pretty much any fighter. But if this thing gets past the first round, I think that Hernandez is the one that probably wins it based on points. He hasn't been knocked out since Kevin Holland back in 2020. He has 4 nice wins in a row. The Marc-Andre Barriault was nice. He just threw the big guy around. So that tells me that Fluffy can wrestle with the big guys. And I think Fluffy's probably in a little bit better of a spot. I do like what Roman Kopylov's been doing, beating a couple pretty good guys, Punahele Soriano, Josh Fremd, but it's nothing like I think that Anthony Hernandez has had the harder schedule. I think Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barriault, they both beat Josh Fremd, and Rodolfo Vieira, who just won last week, beating my ticket against Armand Petrosian. So I like his wins, but you're at minus 250. So here's what I'm doing. I might take Hernandez for a small chunk of change, see if I can get him to sub this guy out. That could happen. He 2 of Roman's losses were by decision and then by sub. But I will put him in a parlay because I hate being on the public side. And I got another public one I'm going to team him up with. But I'm going to first see what your thoughts, if any, are on this fight.
Yeah, I think Hernandez is the way to go on a parlay. And I'm not against a a submission at plus 200 at FanDuel. That's the most generous payout. Now, everywhere else is like plus 175 or plus 180. So, I mean, that would be okay if it's just that. That would just be a small play. But I've got a couple of other favorites that I feel like that I would package Hernandez in a parlay with, and when we get to those other fights, I'll mention that. So for now, I'll just say I'm okay with a small play on Fluffy by sub, anywhere from plus 175 to plus 200, and in a parlay, which will add some people as we go here.
All right, sounds good. Let's move to the next fight, Merab Dvalishvili against Henry Cejudo. So here's another problem. This is the same thing that happened to me. I like Merab Dvalishvili some in this fight. Cejudo's been fantastic. I don't know why he retired after he got the belt.
Right? He was in the biggest role of his life.
I know. He beats Cruz, and I remember watching that fight, and then he retires, and he comes back strong. You know, he's at 135. He, I thought he beat Aljamain Sterling. You know, Aljamain's got the split decision on that one. I thought he won the fight. So I give him credit, but I'm also not high on Sterling. I never been. I always thought he was kind of a deceptive fighter who got some wins in a no contest, you know, obviously against Peter Yan, right? And
dumbass Yan.
Dumbass Yan. But look at what Merab did to Yan. Just threw him all over. Merab's got just the forward pressure here that could mess up Cejudo. So Cejudo's got power. Merab's got some power too. But I just think that Merab's smart enough to get Cejudo on the ground and kind of keep the pressure on him. If you look at his takedowns, they're just absolutely insane. 6.55 average takedowns per 15 minutes when Cejudo's at 2.07. Now, Cejudo's always got good takedown defense. Anybody in these lower weight classes anybody usually do. But this is kind of where Merab's pretty good. But Merab's also got more significant strikes landed per minute, and he defends them better. Absorbed 2.41. Cejudo absorbs 3.15. Cejudo with his all or nothing BS, because he's be like, if we don't win this one, this is it again. It's like, dude, it's like you watch too many drama movies, man. Just be
such a drama queen.
I know. So I like Merab, but here's again the price going up. So I partnered Merab before this thing got real juicy. I think it's probably plus 100. I got plus 115, and I partnered him with Fluffy. So that's the way I'm playing this one. I don't think that Dvalishvili finishes this one. I almost kind of like Dvalishvili by decision, but you're not going to get a great price on that, Brian.
Yeah, there we go. The brilliant minds think alike again. Yeah, that's who I want to put Merab with Fluffy in the parlay. Now, I'm okay with just doing those two. I might want to put Whitaker in it. But I forget if we talked about. I think we talked about this off the air before we came on. I can't do anything on Whitaker at Costa until I see Costa's weigh in. So for now, I'll just say I'm good with a Fluffy Merab. You said it'd be plus 115 together. We would hope on a parlay there. Those two.
Yeah, that's what I got. It's probably plus 100 now because the price went up. I took it like a day or 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah, so I'm good with that, but I might want to also have Whitaker in it. But I won't know that until Friday afternoon because we're out west, so the weigh-ins will be a little later in the morning.
Right. Let's move on to the next one then. We have Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary. All right, my man. I'm letting you start this one, but I think there's a lot of people that want Ian Gary to lose. And he's a smack talker, and he's not like the first one to do it from Ireland. So now people hate him. Like Conor kind of caught fire. Everyone liked Conor because he backed it up. He starts at 145. He moves up and he talked his way to the title. But Ian Gary's doing that same thing. It's played out now, Kerry. You can't do that because you're from Ireland, dude. Come with something different. But he's cocky, but he backs it up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So Gary's been really good to me. And I had him in I went to 3 Jacksonville shows in a row, and he won me some money over in Jack's. I think that's been a couple years ago now. But look, man, I I'm kind of thinking upset here, but I want to see the face-offs, and I want to see how decided that height and size advantage is for Gary, and we can see those face-offs here in a couple hours,
Yeah.
tonight's presser. But I thought Neal looked spectacular against Shavkat. In fact, I don't think anybody in the welterweight division would have beaten Jeff Neal that night except for Shavkat.
Cat Rock. Yeah. Yeah.
Shavkat got all he wanted and then some that night, and is fortunate a couple of those haymakers that he caught did not turn his lights out. And then Neal before that, well, the split decision with Ponzinibbio, but finishing Luque was impressive. And uh, yeah, Luque is kind of his hot streak kind of ended a
He's
while
a
back,
punching
but
bag, man. Lately,
yeah, but
he's been,
yeah. But I could see Neal maybe pulling this off here, and there's bad blood, and he's highly motivated, and he's had plenty of time. He's had 11 months to recover from the Shavkat fight, where I thought he might have had his best performances of his career, maybe even in defeat, because we know Shavkat is a different dude. So I'm not gonna, commit to it 100% right now. If the face off, that size advantage looks a little much, because it might be, tough for Neal to get on the inside when they're standing and trading. But I mean, Shavkat had a pretty good size advantage over Neal as well, and um, but Gary's taller than
yeah.
Shavkat. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm interested in Neal. Not going to commit to it quite yet, though.
It's weird that Ian Gary's below Neal and Luque in their rankings, yet Gary's a big favorite here. I mean, -2 something, right? Yeah, this is an interesting welterweight because I do believe Shavkat's the best, but you can't forget about Kamaru Usman. Usman's not moving up to middleweight, right? He's going right back to welterweight, and in the way that he fought his last fight against what's his face? We both bet opposite sides on that one.
Chimaev.
Chimaev, yeah. Yeah, where's Kamzat? I'm not even seeing him in the rankings. He must be like all over the place or something, I don't know. Maybe they don't have him as a as a contender. Yeah, they don't have him as either. So that's why it's like, why is Kamzat not there? Is he not signed?
Yeah, I think UFC has done a really piss poor job with Chimaev the last 2 years, getting him fights. I mean, really piss poor. I mean, the dude wants to fight constantly, and I mean, he's one of your biggest stars, and I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, he is one of the best. I was waiting for him to, take the belt from Leon Edwards, but now he moved up and he beat the crap out of Kevin Holland like nothing. Gilbert Burns was nothing before that.
Whoa. Time out. Gilbert Burns was
no. Sorry. No,
come on, that's one of the greatest fights I've ever watched.
That was a great fight by Burns. I meant Jingling Lee. You're right. Gilbert Burns was a tough fight for him. Gilbert Burns was almost like the Jeff Neal fight against Shavkat, right? It feels like that was kind of the same thing. Barn burner.
I was at that one. I was at that one, baby.
Yeah,
Lower
I know.
level on like the third row.
Lucky man. I mean, this one is, oh God. I went two ways. I have Jeff Neal by KO at +325 for one half unit or whatever I did. Maybe I did a full unit. I can't remember. And then I have Ian Gary by decision for +150. So either way, I'd win if those two outcomes work. So you're basically just kind of betting the outcomes. My blended odds are probably close to +100 just because you have so much on the Neal side, even though the Neal side's more improbable. If you want to calculate your blended odds, you have to actually put the probabilities in there too. But either way, I think I'm waiting for Gary to get popped. And if anybody can do it, it could be Jeff Neal. But my problem is Jeff Neal, the profile that beats Jeff Neal is Ian Gary. The
Right.
profile that gives him a tough time in a fight is the tall, lanky guys.
Rangy,
Very,
rangy
yep,
with a
rangy.
control distance with the length.
Exactly. And Neil keeps getting, or I'm sorry, Ian Gary keeps getting better and better. But man, that fight against Shavkat made me have belief in Jeff
Yeah.
Neal. And he landed some blows on Shavkat. He felt a
I
few of
think
them.
we're
But
talking about this
his
fight. I think I'm gonna have to go to YouTube and watch it again when we're done this.
right, right. Why not?
Right?
He lost to a tall and slender Neil Magny, and he lost to a tall Stephen Thompson. It's just the same profile really as Ian Gary, except Ian Gary's maybe even that much better. Ian Gary's going to try to play with him, but Ian Gary just lets that thing in. Jeff Neal's popping him, and I think Ian Gary plays with his food. He doesn't get out, and he is more worried about his defense, and that's why he's winning these fights into the third round than he is about finishing, which is smart. That's actually very smart. So his mouth is
He better
big, but
be like that Saturday too.
you're right. And so I like Ian Gary by decision at plus 150 and Jeff Neal by KO plus 325 or whatever it is now. So that's the way I'm playing it. I mean, I
I,
hope
I,
one
I
of those.
don't like to bet two sides of the fight like that, but the way you laid it out right there made a ton of sense because I can see Gary winning a decision by keeping the distance, controlling range, and peppering him with kicks with his long ass legs. But then by the same token, if Neal's able to get inside and close the distance, he could always land one of those uppercuts and I don't feel like Gary's chin has been really tested. We still have a lot to learn about Ian Gary. So I I could see you winning. Um, you know, getting one of those
Hopefully.
two
Oh,
scenarios.
I'll be happy with one of them. If
Yeah.
Jeff Neal does it, I'll be double happy.
Right,
Let's
right.
move on to the next fight, dude. Let's go with Paulo Costa versus Robert Whitaker. So I I think the price is probably correct. Costa is like you nailed it when you told me earlier that you got to wait for weigh-ins for Costa because you never know. Costa's got the power. Whitaker, the way he lost his last fight, made you like wonder: is this dude done? Did he have some personal problems? Was he sick? I mean, he got his butt kicked.
Big
And
time. Got his ass tore up.
I
other than
know,
the Adesanya knockout the first time, we have never really seen Whitaker to get beat like that. But
no
although
doubt. And he fought Adesanya good the second time, and then he
right,
beats Vittori, and then Drew Plessis kicks his butt. I personally now think that Strickland would beat Whitaker, and they haven't fought yet, but I think that could be the next fight after this. But Costa's a tough nut to crack because, like you said, we got to see if he weighs in. He's got the power in his punch, but he's kind of clumsy and slow, and I don't think he's fast enough for a good Robert Whitaker. And I think the price
right.
is probably right in the minus 200s, but I don't trust it as a parlay piece or anything. I'm staying away.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that as well. Now, if Costa comes in like on weight, like I guess what I'm worried about with putting Whitaker in the parlay, I'm worried about Costa coming in like 5 pounds overweight and Whitaker still fighting him and taking 30% of his purse or whatever. And like I would not want to have Whitaker in the parlay if he's gonna be compromised because he cut all the weight and Costa didn't, and I can see that happening. Now I don't know if Whitaker would agree to have the fight if he comes in 4 or 5 pounds heavy, but we've seen that with Costa, so we know it can happen, and so I just can't. It's a pass for me now. If Costa's on weight, because Whitaker's got too much speed for him standing. If Whitaker is right now, and he's had some time to recover from the knockout. It was July 8th, so it's not like a super quick turnaround. It's not the longest layoff either. Maybe it's just right. Um, we'll see, but I think Whitaker runs circles around him standing. Obviously he's got to avoid his power punches, but Whitaker's so fast and elusive and quick and in and out standing that um, I think he should have his way when the fight's standing. Now I think Costa will be a lot stronger if we have clinch situations or he's able to get a takedown. Um, that would concern me a little bit, but Yeah. So right now it's a pass. If if the weigh-ins go smoothly and I like what I'm seeing in the face-offs, maybe I add Whitaker to the Mirab and Fluffy parlay. But for now, it's a pass.
Yeah, Costa, lost, got kind of out wrestled a little bit by Vittori. He lost to Izzy and got knocked out. He's slow, but you're right. If he gets Whitaker in the clinch, but I think Whitaker's too slick and slimy, and he'll get out
Right.
of that clinch. And I think you
Yeah.
have to really think that Costa could get knocked out here. He's a punching bag. He absorbs over 6 significant strikes per minute. You know, this is a 3-round fight. It's not a 5-round fight, right? I'm pretty sure
Right.
this is a 3-round fight, even though it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
co-main
Yeah.
event. It should still be a 3-round fight. So staying away for now. But if Costa makes weight, we'll see if anything changes. But I think Whitaker by KO might be a sneaky one, but I'm not sold on it. That would just be a thought before I break it down a little bit more and look at it. But that brings us to the main event. And Alexander Gotanowski, and I say Gotanowski because he is the best ever in the 145 weight class, in my opinion. I think that
He's never lost.
of course he's never, and he earned the respect to get that fight against Islam. Now you have Ilya Topuria being like, I'm going to win this one, then I'm going to go up. It's like, first of all, defend your title about 5 times, then fight a couple
Yeah.
contenders at 155. Then we'll talk if you're talking. I hate how he kind of got a little mouthy, but besides the point, Volk went all the way down to minus 125. Ilya's plus 105. I gave this out in mid-December, Ilya at plus 154. And I liked Ilya with that price back then, but this price is getting very close, and Volk's got a bit disrespectful. It was about minus 110 a piece, and then it kind of bounced back towards Volk. I listened to a lot of UFC sports betting shows, and a lot of those guys are on Volk. I think the public side's also going to be Volk. Volk's got a little bit better of a reach. He's done it all, but I don't like Volk's situation. It's just weird. He got a little bit humiliated here. He had some mental issues. He has a really funny commercial too by going
I
on
saw
right
it.
now.
I
Did you
saw it.
see that? That was funny. That was silly. I like that
Mhm.
about Volk. I thought that was really cool. But Ilya's, I've been planning on betting Ilya in this fight for over 2 years. Yeah, I've been so pro Ilya that I felt stupid when I tried to go against him with Bryce Mitchell, and Thug Nasty got out wrestled by Ilya Topuria in that fight. So that just told me, like, holy cow, that
Right.
just absolutely blew. It's just like, why did I go against this guy? I went small. It's not like, but it was a price play is why. But I mean, geez, Ilya is beating the crap out of everyone. He's tough. He's strong. He's better than everybody except maybe Volk. And I personally think that Volk has been compromised with that knockout, and he's been knocked down, before in his fights as well. Ilya got a little bit roughed up when he fought Jai Herbert. He got it. He got a little dazed. He shook it off, but that gives me a little concern here for him. But the truth is that Volk's older. He's 35. I guess the stats on defending your title when the age is 35 and higher is very, very bad. And I'm happy with my plus 154. I give Ilya a 55% chance of winning this fight. I could see him get knocked out too. Volk's got 13 KOs, 13, 3 KOs, 3 submissions, 10 decisions. He could just pound the leg. He's a very good low thrower. He can kick the calves. He can take your knees out. Volk's done that a ton. I've seen his fights against Ortega, against Max Holloway. I thought he lost the second fight against Max Holloway, but he's been knocked down.
Oh God, so did I. Fudge,
No doubt. No doubt.
God.
I thought that was a robbery.
Robbery.
I mean, before Volk, let's face it, it was Jose Aldo, and it was there wasn't a lot of massive fighters, and I think it was just kind of Ortega who turned into a China doll. You love T Sizzle, but I mean, I think this is a weak weight class, and maybe Ilya is the guy that does it. I got Ilya winning the fight. If it gets past one, it's not going to happen. But if I could get Volk at plus 130 or better, I'll just bet both sides and just eat popcorn and take my money. because
Sure.
but it's not going to happen. I'm going to stick with Ilya until that price, but my number is 55%. What about you?
I love both of these fighters. Could be a fight of the year, or it will be a fight of the year candidate. I think. These are not two guys that you want to bet against. These are two bet on fighters. I mean,
Mhm.
when Volk's at featherweight,
Right,
um,
right.
rather on 11 days on 11 days notice, and now we find out he was been drinking every day for like how long he said he'd been drinking every day for 2 months or
That
something
is
like that.
not good, dude. That
Yeah, I was
messes
like,
with your
huh?
muscle.
It's like
I mean,
Volk, you're always talking about being professional.
well, dude, you got to understand where he's from. They drink vodka for lunch, right? Oh,
Sure.
wait, no, he's
Yeah.
from Australia. Never mind. They drink there too, though.
They like
They
to
drink a
drink too.
ton of beer. They drink too. For a minute, I was thinking ski in Poland, but no, he's from Australia. But yeah, they drink there too. But yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, right. 2 months in a row. What?
Yeah, and I mean, I was in Jacksonville to see Taporia, just put it on Emmett, and
What a
God,
great fight that was, dude. And Emmett got so much respect from
oh,
me
he was
after
throwing
doing.
haymakers to the very finish, even though his face was caved in. I mean, and he was still throwing gas. And I mean, God, that punch that knocked Bryce out, that shows you how hard he punches, man. And Emmett was still trying to work and get in there. And I've seen him get a great comeback like he did against Michael Johnson and take my money like 5 years ago.
Right.
Um, but anyhow, all that said, and I look, if I'm you, I'm feeling good about my plus 154 ticket as well. Um, but it's the main event. I want to have a little bit on it. It's not a strong play, but I think I'm gonna go with Volk at just this inexpensive price. I hear I mean, I'm all in with what you're saying. It's a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, Volk, he got knocked out in a welterweight fight like 11 years ago, but other than that, he hasn't been knocked out in his career, and he takes a pretty bad KO in late October. And this is kind of a quick turnaround coming off your first KO loss in 11 years. So I'd feel good with plus 154, but if I can get minus 120, minus 125, I got to go with a little bit on Volk, but it's not with a ton of confidence. I think both these fighters are fantastic, and they're just not guys you really want to be betting against, and that's why I won't be doing it for a whole lot of money.
Well, plus 154, you need 40% better or chance to win for that to be a good number. I think there's an over 40% chance that Ilya wins this fight. So I'm definitely happy with that. I'm glad I took it early. I think the sharp bettors took it early. I mean, it's just what it is. And maybe some buyback, and maybe there's some, I mean, you can profit on both sides now that Alexander's only minus 125. He's not minus 154. You can, if you want to get cute, toy it. But I'm not going to run away from a good bet. I'm not going to get cute on it.
No, I hear you.
I don't need the money. I'm just, I'll ride this out, and I'll be rooting for Topuria, but I have the utmost respect for Volk, and I think he's the greatest of all time in his weight class. But this is a must watch, dude. This is a must watch event.
Oh,
You gotta watch the
100%.
fight. Yeah, I mean, if you're by
100%.
yourself, you suck it up and pay for the pay-per-view, because right now this one is the one I've been waiting for, my man. But hey,
Yeah, this is gonna be a great fight. Can't wait, and it's gonna be good stuff.
well, Brian, we broke it all down, at least as much as we could. One thing that we can't sleep on is Brian's great articles over at Major Wager, Vegas Insider. Where could our listeners get your amazing information and plays?
Yeah, so my content, majorwager.com. You can get my picks at vegasinsider.com. Find me on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. Just hit me with a DM, and we can work out a picks arrangement. Just me and you, or whoever it is reaching out to me, what have you. And what else? Yeah, I do a new Friday podcast with myself and Jay Greason, and it's on Southeastern 14, which is a YouTube channel, and we talk all the SEC basketball games for Saturday. We'll be doing that tomorrow morning. Should be available tomorrow afternoon at Southeastern 1-4, like the 14 teams that there are currently, although we got 15 and 16 coming next year with OU and Texas.
All right. Well, check that out. Friday night. I love Friday podcast. Don't tell me you're working too hard on Friday. You're not. Tune into Brian's show, my man. You'll get some great fun information for the weekend. Brian, always a blast, my man. We'll be texting this weekend.
Thanks, Kiev, man. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it. And best of luck on all your bets. And to the listeners, best of luck.